Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Jon Amo's Archives here on YouTube. Unbelievably so, since I've been on YouTube a couple of years ago, I'm yet to make a baseball video. And I want to first and foremost apologize to my obvious, New York Met fans for not addressing our team these last couple of years, for solely focusing on the Philadelphia Eagles, and for not addressing or even mentioning baseball in general. I love baseball. I go to a lot of baseball games. If you check out my MySpace page, you could see that I went to the Dodger game when the Mets swept them in the wild card round a couple of years back. So I apologize for not making any baseball videos, and here in the future, Jon Amo will go into some more baseball videos. But speaking of baseball, the biggest issue today is obviously the Roger Clemens hearing. So that's what I wanted to come out here and focus on, the whole Roger Clemens, Brian McNamee debacle, and then get a little bit into, Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire and my whole analysis of the whole thing. So the first burning question that, needs to be asked is, were these hearings for Congress necessary? And Jon Amo is a solid advocator of these hearings. I believe if not Congress, some kind of tribunal had to take place, some kind of judgment had to take place. You literally have baseball players, shattering all kinds of records left and right, so something had to be done. And really quickly, I don't want to harp on Jose Canseco, but if you were to ask me, is Jose Canseco a snitch? I really don't think so. I'm not sure that his second book is necessary, but I think he's more of a whistleblower than a snitch, because I think there was a problem in baseball. It needed to be addressed, and now it is. So moving on, Roger Clemens is obviously guilty as sin. The first thing that told me Roger Clemens was guilty as sin was when I heard the Brian McNamee, Roger Clemens taped phone conversation. And I realized during this conversation that all Roger Clemens has to do, because he's setting Brian McNamee up, Brian McNamee does not know that he's on tape right now. All this guy has to do is really say, hey, Brian, why did you lie about me? Why don't you just tell the truth? And he never says that during that whole entire taped conversation. And, McNamee at that point was trying to keep it real. He didn't know he was being taped. He didn't know, what was going to go down. And, I feel bad for Brian McNamee. I think Congress is setting him up to look like a failure. And I think he's very credible. Obviously, Andy Pettit admitted to everything McNamee stated, that he backed up everything that McNamee stated. Chuck Knobloch backed up everything that McNamee stated. So I quote the Congressman Cummings. Roger Clemens, you're one of my heroes, but it's very, very hard to believe you right now. And it's funny because people want to kind of analyze why all this is going down. And at first people wanted to play the race card with Barry Bonds, and people wanted to play the race, and now people want to say they're coming after Roger Clemens because they want a big target. If there was no such thing in baseball as, all these shattered records, and just a bunch of Joe Blows were doing illegal enhancing performance substances like Jose Canseco, and chumps were just hitting 40 to 45 home runs a year, 50 home runs a year, nobody would have gave a shit. There wouldn't have been any investigation. Nobody would have cared. They would have swept it under the rug, and steroids would have still been prevalent in the game today. The reason why people came after Barry Bonds, it's not because he's black. It has nothing to do with he's black. All right? The reason why people came after Barry Bonds is because he shattered the all-time home run record. You can't put up 765 home runs or whatever he has and 80 home runs in one single season and just expect to get away with it, especially if you didn't do it honestly. And the same thing goes for Roger Clemens. You can't win seven Cy Young Awards and, have 300 wins and however many strikeouts he has if it wasn't done honestly. And it's enough that all of a sudden some guy named Brady Anderson, a leadoff hitter, is hitting 16 home runs one year and 50 home runs the next year. And it's enough that all of a sudden Sammy Sosa has a career high of 22 home runs, is now hitting 60-yard bombs. You know, it comes to a point where you gotta, like, you know, throw the foot down and say, you know, what's really going on here, and that's what really happened. And you know, going back to the Roger Clemens situation, you know, had Roger Clemens just come out and said the same things and admitted to the same things that Andy Pettitte and Chuck Knobloch did, there wouldn't be any problems. He would have been forgiven by now. Yes, his legacy would have been tainted, but I mean, Roger, come on. I mean, it's so clearly obvious that you're a steroid abuser. You might as well just face the facts. And the worst part about it is, this guy spun himself so bad and he looked so bad in court. Now he's got an indictment following him, so he's going to follow right in Barry Bonds' footsteps. And it's like, for what? To prove to the public that you didn't do steroids? I mean, was it really honestly worth it to you? And if you look at the evidence is overwhelming. It's just overwhelming, you know. And people want to say that Brian McNamee is crazy for like hiding syringes, you know, in a beer can or whatever. But you know, I don't think so. And I was even listening to the Jim Rome show today too, and Jim Rome, or a couple days ago, and Jim Rome even said he was disturbed for doing that. But to be honest with you, I think it was a very smart move. I think Brian McNamee is a very smart man. I think that Roger Clemens is obviously guilty as sin, and you know, you can't look past his career surge. Like, I know what the numbers look like. You can't look past stuff like that. You can't. I mean, and for him to go out there and throw his wife under the bus is just, it's just really incredible. I mean, it's just outrageous that he can even do that. I hope she divorces him. But again, you know, I feel bad for Brian McNamee. I think you know, the Congress, you know, set him up to look really bad. And speaking of the Congress, I wanted to focus on that for a quick second. I think it's absolutely despicable that the Democrats and the Republicans are on two different sides on this issue. I mean, what a joke, guys. I mean, really. First of all, you made this a whole circus-like atmosphere. I don't understand why you have to like pick sides. I mean, the truth is the truth. The truth is, you know, they both lied. One of them lied to protect the other one, McNamee, and now he looks worse than ever because you turned it around and flipped on him. But he only lied to protect Roger Clemens. I mean, Brian McNamee has absolutely nothing to lose here in this situation. He loves Roger Clemens. He even said in that taped phone conversation that he brought up his kids, you know, after Roger Clemens. So for Roger Clemens to come after this guy and more even selfishly for Roger Clemens to look at Brian McNamee like, oh, this guy is going to tarnish my legacy. Well, hey, Roger, we're all people here. You're about to tarnish Brian McNamee's legacy. He's a person just like you. You know, just because you're a baseball player and he's just a trainer, so you think, and you make $16 million or whatever you make, and he only makes, you know, $35,000. You know, we're all people here, so you're going to tarnish his legacy just like he's trying to. He might tarnish yours. So that's my whole take on this whole thing, Roger. You know, the most honorable guy in this whole thing to me was Jason Giambi, because he came out and admitted it right away, and Andy Pettitte, you know, because he came out and admitted it right away, and ultimately, where is it? Sorry. Pedro, because Pedro said it best. When he needed a pickup, he drank a cup of coffee and ate some chicken or some shit like that. Pedro was the best pitcher in the steroid era, the best clean pitcher, and I'm just glad that the New York Mets, besides of course, you know, their clubhouse trainer back in the day, aren't linked. None of their present players are linked to steroids. So, what's the difference between Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens? No, it's not that they're black and white. It's actually, there's no difference between them. I apologize. What's the non-difference between Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens? They're the best pitcher and the best hitter of their time. They need to answer some questions. They're both guilty of sin, and their records are tainted, and they're both going to be indicted. And Roger Clemens, you're a moron because, you know, Barry Bonds should have taught you a little bit of something, you know. Anyway, this is Jon Amo's first baseball video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Check me back later this week for a New York Mets full analysis. This is the archives, baby.